Hey girl.
Nikeisha.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you. We cannot thank you enough for engaging in this conversation with us around mental health, our kind of emotional wellness dimension, and fixing your crown. You look
Mhm.
beautiful, by the way. Love it, love it. Um, so I know we've gotten to kind of talk and chat and get to know each other a little bit, over the last week or so. And, I've gotten to know your story and, really just genuinely appreciate you being so open and willing to share, with all of us. And I know we've got a lot to chat about. So hopefully we have enough time because I know we're going to get after it. Um, so I know we had shared with you, but the clip that everyone just saw is one of our upcoming speakers. It's going to be on our health equity panel, Project Healthy Minds. And, the stats that were shared on there were astounding. I mean, from, the amount of people that are suffering from, mental health, the productivity that suffers because of it. But as much as, those numbers are so significant, it still feels like mental health is almost like a taboo topic. Like we still don't talk about it. It's still somewhat approached in a very tentative way, if you will. So I mean, I think just starting right off the bat, being a public figure, why did you decide to go sort of public with your mental health journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is look at those numbers. The numbers are astonishing. Like you said, we're not alone. And so that feeling that we're going through it alone as a unique experience is a lie. It's a delusion, right? So I wanted people to see my wins and my losses in context. And that
Yeah.
means telling you about the not so pretty parts of my journey, which includes my struggle with mental health, with depression and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. I know, we've talked a lot about just even being a high performing athlete and kind of having that connection to, even being a high performing professional, especially as Black women. We take on and we shoulder a lot. Oftentimes they say, Black women out here saving the world, whether it be at
Yeah.
home, the office, on the, track and field. So I'd love to, even just dive in a little bit more. I know you kind of talked about, just having, as much as you said, like having everybody sort of see the wins and the losses. How has your social media, maybe even transitioned as you've been more open and showing, sort of different sides of yourself?
Um, I really wanted to push back against the strong Black woman stereotype. That's not to say that I'm not strong. I'm strong as hell. But we get kind of we get kind of trapped in that needing to be strong all the time. And that's just BS, and it's doing us a disservice. It's doing our fellow sisters a disservice who, experience those moments where we want to just fall apart or we're feeling weak. And as a public figure, I think it's a responsibility and obligation to role model real life for people. I know that a lot of us use social media as the highlight reel, but that's not what I want to do. This is real life. It's hard. Like what I try to do on a day to day basis is difficult. And I don't want to set anyone up for failure by trying to act like I'm not struggling when I am. So that's where the transition came from. Like if you want to be like me, if you want to accomplish the things that I've accomplished, this all
This is
goes into it.
Yeah, definitely. I know I was reading something, and by reading, I mean, social scrolling. We're all victim of that. But, it was really around, kind of shedding this idea about Black excellence and embracing mediocrity. And, I just even like kind of thinking about that headline. I think, for me, it was a little bit more about redefining Black excellence, and that excellence does include the downs, does include those moments where you're just like, you know what, I'm going to sign off, I'm gonna check out, I'm gonna take care of me, or I don't need to be at 110 every single day in
Mm-hmm.
every single aspect of my life. And so I think it's seeing Black excellence in a different way. I oftentimes use the hashtag, especially on LinkedIn, like Black excellence at work. And, it's often connected to the things I do at work. But, I've really started to think about evolving, what that hashtag could mean, because it's also like work in progress for me as well, too, that, like it's February is a lot. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Like I told you when we were talking before, like I was in the airport, like having a full on breakdown, tears behind my mask, just, trying to juggle being a mom, being a, good professional, being great to my clients. And, you really oftentimes, again, we had that sort of parallel, again, that high performance. We don't allow ourselves to genuinely breathe and, and allow to be in that space of, sometimes everything is not going to be, kind of at 110.
Right.
So one of the things I know we also talked about is, you have a very unique perspective on mental illness. And I was like, mic drop, like everybody needs to hear this. And I know other people will appreciate that. So can you share what that is and just kind of talk a little bit about how that's related to your journey as a gold medalist?
Absolutely. And I just want to say I saw that same post about mediocrity and I like was allergic to it because like normalized mediocrity as an
You
Olympian, I don't know what that means,
right,
right?
like
But um
skirt.
exactly like hard pass. But I always also tell people that I am an ordinary human that can do extraordinary things. And I think
Mm,
that's the definition of excellence. And how I've been able to manage my struggle with depression inside of that definition is this way. Depression, mental illness, whatever it is that you're experiencing is just that. It's an experience. And what do we know about experiences, good or bad? They don't last. They're temporary. And so I started to treat my depression as that strange family member that dropped by the house unannounced. You kind of got to let them in the door because you're family. You ask them how long they're going to be in town for. You go to the bathroom, you stand in the mirror, you look at yourself and say, okay, cool, I only got to ride this out for 3 days.
exactly,
And
exactly.
that's how I treat my depression. Like, here it comes. It's a she for me. Like, here she comes. All right, we're gonna spend a few days together. It is what it is. And when you view it as an experience in that way, you can actually still find joy in those moments. Like we were talking about, like, yeah, you may not want them on the couch with you watching Netflix, but when you get hungry, you still can choose to order your favorite takeout and enjoy the heck out of that meal, even though you're not really feeling your cousin being there right now. So
Right.
it's kind of like you find ways within these dark moments to disrupt the experience because that's all it is. And that's how I've been able to win 9 medals, three of which are Olympic golds, is by just allowing myself to do what needed to be done within the experience, knowing that it wasn't permanent, knowing that I would get through it.
Yeah. I like, and the second part of that, I'm gonna just, steal and say it for you, was that, you said it's an experience, not an identity. And I think that was, to me, that was a huge part where you really talked about, I'm experiencing depression. I am not depressed. And I think, that was such a good shift in that language, because I think, especially, I always go back to, like, being a Black woman, like we take on so many identities and so many roles, and they become intrinsic almost to who we are. And, when you start to take on those maybe more negative, if you will, identities, it really kind of starts to show itself in other aspects and other roles in your life. And I know you talked about, kind of going through, sort of a depression experience or an anxiety experience when you were at the Olympics and, didn't, do as well as you would like to in one event, but, kind of use that frame of mind to, I mean, I don't know if you want to show us the hardware or nothing, but, how did you use
Absolutely.
that mentality to move forward in the rest of the games?
Yeah. So in 2016 at the Rio Olympics, I had qualified for three events, which was really difficult to do. I was in the 100, the long jump, and the 4x100 meter relay. But the 100 and a very intense depressive state happened for me at the same time. So imagine being at the Olympics when you want to feel your best physically, you want to look your best, your body wants to be firing. I am literally like carrying tons on my body, just feeling extremely heavy. And even though I had run 10.7 in the 100 that year, top five in the world, I didn't even make it to the final. And it was like in that moment, I could have been like, I'm ruined. Like, I'm supposed to be a sprinter. I've got this contract. I've got Nike breathing down my neck. Instead, I was like, I am experiencing something that will go away, that will pass. And for that reason, I know that I can show up and show out as soon as this fog lifts. And so I just waited. I wrote it out. I just showed myself some grace, which a lot of us don't have a lot of practice doing. I had to kind of say, T, I forgive you for like getting out there and embarrassing us for running slow and kind of not caring about anything and barely tying your shoes. Like, it's okay. I understand. It's time to move on. And because I was able to, I won two
Bring them out,
gold
girl.
medals.
I like
I
that
won my
clink
first
clink.
yeah, clean first gold medal in the long jump. And the four by we defended our title in the 4x100 meter relay. And the reason I love telling that story is because nobody cares about the depressive state that I was experiencing at the beginning. Nobody cares that I didn't make the final. One, because I survived it, I got through it, lived to tell the tale. And two, as soon as the opportunity presented itself, I showed out. I showed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And that's the space that we don't always give ourselves when we're going through something like this. We feel like we have to stay down or that depression has a certain face, right? No, it's like let it pass when it passes. And it's like, oh, they open the cage. It's time to go. Like, go. And that's kind of how I started to view it.
Yeah. I love what you said in there about giving grace because I think you're right. We don't do that enough. And I think it's also because we don't necessarily know how to. Gonna put you on the spot a little bit with this one, but like, how do you suggest people sort of give themselves, a little bit of grace, or how to start to practice that?
I look at it this way. There are enough people outside of you who are going to give you a hard time, who are going to give you crap about whatever it is. Don't be on their team.
Girl.
So at a minimum, be on your own team. And that means like what would you tell your best friend who was going through something? You would, like I said to you the other day, we show up for other people way more often, way more consistently than we show up for ourselves. And all I'm saying is to show yourself compassion and grace is to show up as your own best friend when you need her, him
Yeah.
or her. So that's all it means. It doesn't mean that you need to like light a candle and do these chants and like release things in this like woo woo ceremony. It just means like, yeah, that sucked. I'm going to work on that and move forward. That's
Yeah.
what grace looks like. It's simple as that.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it sucked. Like, because I mean, that's what I was feeling. I was just like, this day sucked. I feel like I was failing this, failing that. But it was just sort of like, and this was before we even really talked about the concept of experience versus identity. And I was just like, okay, but that was that. Like, let's breathe, let's put it aside. It's that moment, and that moment doesn't have to define my next moment. And that I can kind of take that breath and say, okay, Nikeisha, like, you got this. Like, you've got the skill, the talent, the not whatever it is that you need to kind of go into that next moment. Don't allow for the negativity of before to impact your current and your future.
Yeah, and we are the ones assigning meaning to the moments. And this is what I want all of us to understand. We have power, even in those crappy moments, to give that moment meaning. So for me, just to take it back to track and field, before the 2016 Olympics, I lost every single competition. And I don't mean just like barely lost, getting second place. I mean like getting my butt kicked, ninth, 10th place, every single competition. It was up to me to decide what those competitions meant in the big picture. And
Yeah.
for me, I decided they were learning opportunities. They
Yeah.
were me learning what not to do the next time, right? So even in these crazy moments, the moment itself doesn't define us. We define it, and then we allow that to come together and help inch us towards whatever our goals are.
Yeah. I love that. Like, that's one of the things I fortunately, probably learned early on in my career is, just that, like, no moment is a failure, no experience is a failure. It's an opportunity to learn, about yourself, learn about the other person that you were, a group you were interacting with, just really being able to take that opportunity, really, that you have to be able to deepen, who you are, what you can do, what and I know we're going to talk about some other things too that maybe might lead to that, but but that you can't teach if you haven't learned. So I know you
Hmm.
got a little saying for that one too. We'll tap into, but um, so, going back to, the title of this session is Fix Your Crown. And I know, that comes from a boot camp that you run. And so in it, you talk about, your 3 steps to fixing your crown. The first of which is know thyself. So tell me a little bit about that and what that means.
Yeah, it came from the idea that we teach other people how to treat us, but we can't
Mm,
even do that if we don't know ourselves to begin with. And so like there's nothing good that comes out of ignorance in any arena. And so to not spend time getting to know what makes yourself tick or what motivates you or what deflates you would be doing yourself a disservice in every single one of your relationships you will ever have, in the workplace, like as a parent. And so that's step one. Like we are too focused sometimes on external things and how to
yeah.
change all of that out there, when really a lot of that heavy lifting is just right here with just a little self-reflection and some
That's it. I was
knowledge.
like, girl, you got me thinking about self-reflection right now. Like, that is
Hmm.
so key. Yes, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, so and this was particularly important for me when I got divorced in 2017, and that marriage was awful and abusive and toxic in all the ways, right? The day after I left, I woke up in the morning and I had no idea who I was.
Mm,
I knew who they said I was, but I didn't know who I was, and I was paralyzed by my ignorance of myself. I didn't know what I wanted to eat for breakfast. And I know that sounds silly and trivial, but spending 2 hours trying to decide what to eat for breakfast is a red flag, right? And so that's how I knew that I really needed to reintroduce myself to myself in order to start moving forward. And that is why it's such an important step for everyone to take, especially if they're feeling stuck or down. Uh, really turn inward and take a look basically under your hood.
yeah, yeah. Girl, I can't tell you how much, like, self-reflection is a mantra for me. And just, like, I think honestly, it's been, what has helped me in my life, just, develop deep relationships, succeed in the world, because we can like superficially, like we were saying, beat up on ourselves, like I failed at this or I
Mhm.
didn't do that well. And it's like, if we take that moment, and I recommend people do it on a regular basis. A lot of times people do it maybe at the end of the year as they're thinking about, kind of New Year's and all of that. But I'm like, I try to do it every week, kind of take a
Mhm.
moment to like reflect on my week. What went well? What didn't, what do I need to learn from? What do I want to do next week, better or different? How could I show up different? I like to do it a lot in the shower. Y'all gonna learn a little bit about me
Okay.
today. I can say I have had conversations with pretty much everybody in my life in the shower. They don't know it, but just really talking through whether it be a challenge I'm having with a friend, or a way that I want to approach a challenge at work, or how I want to show up for an event like this. Oftentimes there has been, some conversation with myself, in the shower. I know all y'all not thinking about me in the
Mhm.
shower, whatever, but but so like that know thyself. When we were talking about that, that really resonated with me on just how critical self-reflection is, and really truly understanding the who you are and what makes you happy, what drives you, what makes you tick, so that you can show up as that person, and like you said, show people how you want to be treated. So
Mhm.
I love all that. um
I love that you said that you practice that, like you rehearse that in the shower, and that type of rehearsal is actually a high performance habit that's practiced by elite athletes all around the world. Like,
okay,
I know, girl, you're
you call
elite.
me elite. I'm elite.
Go,
All right,
yeah,
I don't know if the body would show
yes,
it,
it's
but
like,
I'll go for it.
yeah, it's something that we all need to do. Like, we do ourselves a disservice when we act like things are supposed to be easy. Like, oh, I should have just stood up for myself in the moment. Like,
Right.
how many of us have had like the perfect argument 3 hours later when the words finally came to us? And then
Exactly,
we're all
exactly.
upset
Like,
because
damn,
we
I should
couldn't
have
say it
said
in the
this.
moment. Exactly. These things take practice, and we're so used to choking down the way we feel in the moment that we aren't like primed to just do these things. So, yeah, the rehearsal is cool. The
Yeah.
practice is great. I love that for you.
I mean, I think too, for me, like, I am definitely one of those people that I take responsibility. So I always, kind of look at my role in a situation. And, I think that it helps me find a balance. So, one, to put myself in that other person's shoes, try to understand, maybe their perspective, where they're coming from. But also for me not to like overly burden myself with like the blame of
Mhm.
something either going wrong or going right. And I think also too, like truly getting at what my deepest intention is for what that moment is. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going
Yep.
into a conversation with somebody, I don't want to spin around and be talking about all the superficial stuff that really isn't going to get to the heart of either why I'm upset or the end goal that I'm looking for. I really want to be able to say, here's what's truly on my heart, and here's how I would like to go forward, or what I see the solution is, or what have you. I feel like he was gonna say something.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're talking about is getting to clarity, to getting to
Yeah.
the bottom of it. And a lot of times that clarity doesn't come until we have some space and some quiet.
Yeah.
And the only way to get to that is to first feel your feelings. So if something pissed you off, I don't think you can immediately be like, okay, what am I really feeling here? No, you need to spend some time being pissed and then let that pass, because feelings demand to be acknowledged. Otherwise, they proliferate into thoughts, words, and actions that don't necessarily align with who we want to be in the world, in the office, on the track.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta get to the bottom of it, but that clarity only comes after you let yourself feel what you need to feel and you give yourself space and quiet to see it.
Yeah. And I think that, we talked a little bit about that in relation, kind of to the second step in fixing your crown, which is stop hiding. And I know even as we were talking about that as well too, we're both moms, and I think we've both kind of acknowledged we've struggled with that in different ways. So thinking about, like, the feelings piece, but also thinking about motherhood, as a role, like how that has played, kind of a notion, how played into the notion of stop hiding.
Yeah, it forced me to really practice what I preach, becoming a
Mm.
mother. Um, because, I was just at the Olympic trials and I didn't know that I was 2 months pregnant there. When I was kind of sitting in this, like, oh, I failed to make the Olympic team. I'm feeling very much like a failure, feeling very embarrassed, not knowing what to say to my audience on social media. And so I kind of just didn't say anything. And then I learned I was pregnant and I still didn't say anything because I was just like not sure I wanted to share that part of myself. It felt vulnerable, it felt private. And then to go into preterm labor at 26 weeks and spending that time in the hospital, beating myself up for failing to protect my son, failing to carry him to term. I was
Sure.
so like raw and vulnerable, and I was like, I cannot share this. And then one day I was like, I'm going to share this because we got to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Hmm.
There's been no competition that I haven't been scared to death at. Like, I do this, right? And so I had to practice what I preach. So I talked about it and then was able to release the shame that, really multiplies in silence. Like, when we
Yes.
sit on these things, the shame just grows exponentially. And all of that was for nothing. Like, all of that I was holding was just in my own head because the support I received and like the messages and the resources I was able to get connected to because I dared to share something that was actually happening to me was amazing. And so the stop hiding part step of the Fix Your Crown boot camp is like, this is the life you're living. Why not share it? Why,
Hmm.
like, if you had a great day at the office, but your morning getting to the office was hell, I'm gonna go even harder celebrating that great day with you because I know what it took for you to get there.
Yeah.
And this is why I like to stop hiding is so important.
And I mean, and social media proliferates this. I mean, it makes it so easy for us to hide, between filters and, just like being able to throw out a meme here and there. It really oftentimes becomes, sort of the highlight reel of our lives. And, even just since our conversation, I've kind of looked back at my, my social, and really kind of seen, like, have I really been vulnerable? Have I, kind of shown the ups and the downs of, where I'm at and where I'm getting to? And I think, some of that, is that, like, that, you're worried about the negative repercussions. You're worried about, like, what
Mhm.
people are going to think. I know we kind of talked a little bit about, like, how do you deal with, sort of negative media, or sort of reading things about yourself that you're just kind of like, because we know they're always going to be haters. So, like, what do you sort of advise, or tell people who may be hesitant to be a little bit more open about kind of all aspects of their life?
Yeah, and I don't, and don't get me wrong, I am not advocating that everybody go online and share everything about everything. What I'm advocating for is honesty and doing yourself the justice of just
Hmm.
sharing your own story in a way that feels comfortable, right? So when it comes to like sharing something that's potentially vulnerable, that you don't want to open yourself up to trolls or negativity, what you should do is ignore all the bad stuff. I
Okay.
cannot do that. I I have read every negative comment, every horrible thing, and I'm really sensitive, and all of it hurts my feelings. So as badass as I look in that picture, I can't handle it at all. So, but what I do to get over that is just I remind myself that I'm only responsible for how I show up in the world, for
Hmm.
the things that I say, the things that I put out. I am not responsible, and I release myself from being responsible for how it's received. And that really helps me. Like when I focus on being aligned and living out my purpose, as long as I'm posting and sharing from that place, I'm just like, it's not my problem if you found some way to be offended by that.
Because everybody will find something to be offended about. Like, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? You out there with like babies and puppies and they want to get in their feelings about it. So I love that piece of advice, you know, because I think that is an element that probably keeps people from being themselves and, you know, really showing up. I mean, we talk, just are going to be releasing our latest episode of The Level, which is a vodcast that VMLY&R puts out, you know, really to represent the BIPOC employee base and, you know, kind of underrepresented groups within our agency. And you know, one of the topics that we're talking about is sort of these isms and, you know, how we really you know, kind of judge and use these sort of divisive notions to kind of separate, you know, sort of ourselves from each other. And you know, how we really take those to heart a little bit too much, and like the
Hmm.
fear that being our true selves, you know, having that fear of showing up as your true self is, you know, something that we all are experiencing in different ways and different forms. You know, just I think one of the things that we talked about on there is that, you know, really being able to show up as your, you know, truest self at work is what allows for teams to be great, you know, for our creative to be great, for us to be, you know, the best agency that we can, is when everyone is able to, you know, bring that full self and not, you know, sort of shy away because of fear of, you know, how they're going to be judged or how they're going to be viewed. But I think to what, you know, you're saying is that, you know, some of that you're never going to get away from. You know, people are going to have their opinions, you know, how, you know, what they say about opinions.
Hmm.
But, you know, that what your responsibility is, you know, to show up as your fullest self and to be true to who you are. So I love that. I love that.
Another thing I like to think about when showing up as my full self is that, you know, we all want to be loved and accepted, right?
Hmm.
So when we come into a space and we're accepted, but we're wearing a mask, we're still not accepted at the end of the day.
Mm.
That is not the you that those people have accepted. So showing up as yourself is the best and fastest way to edit your life,
Ooh,
because you will
child.
see clearly who is for you and who's not. And that's honestly what you want. As uncomfortable as it is to like learn some things about some people you thought you knew, right?
Hmm.
Let them end up on the cutting room floor if you showing up as your true self is not what they want.
Yeah.
Because the people that are left are your people,
Yeah.
and that's ultimately what we're all looking for and trying to connect to in the end. But you can't get there if you're hiding.
Girl, girl, you just over here just dropping knowledge. Like, I don't know if these people are ready. The fastest way to edit your life. I mean, because yes, we all could use some of that a little bit more often. Again, just I think the proliferation of just social media and sort of what it's done to, you know, chase likes and followers and, you know, all of that, like how we really get back to like our true selves and you know, and surrounding ourselves with, you know, the environment, the people, the relationships that really, you know, nurture us and allow us to, you know, show up, you know, mask off. So I
Mhm.
love that. Well, I want to get to step three in fixing your crown. And I think, you know, it's probably one of my favorites, although they're all just, I mean, really just, you know, valuable nuggets of knowledge, is, you know, creating your own magic. So, you know, what does that, you know, mean to you, and how do we do that?
So it basically just means look at all the areas where you have some control and some power especially right now in this current climate, even with what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, I'm feeling pretty powerless and helpless to
Yeah.
do anything for that, right? So, creating your own magic means finding a way to not wait for someone else or something else to happen before you make something happen. And it's just looking at your life and really controlling what you can control and using that to create this positive momentum that starts to make things happen for yourself. So that's what that means. So no Harry Potter, no magic spells or anything like that, but very practical, like let me just do one thing to break the inertia of this rut or this stuckness that
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
and really start to generate some energy and momentum that can move me forward. You don't have to wait on anyone else to do that. And
Yeah.
it could be simple things. Like when I'm feeling particularly out of control, I organize the hell out of my pantry.
Girl, I
Step
love
one.
me some organization. Don't get me started. Like, listen, I got me a
And I
label
like I know it's not world
maker. Like,
peace. I know it's not world peace, but it's something that I could control. That when I look at when I'm done, there's some pride there. And then what happens? You take a big step back and you're like, what else can I do?
yeah.
And that's the space that we need to live in. Like we do one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then we look around and we say, huh, okay, what else can I do? And then after we string all those little moments together, it's like voila, we've created something.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's having that feeling of accomplishment a little bit as well too. Like, being able to step back and be like, "Oh, all right, cool. Like I did this. This looks great." For me, honestly, it's when I like put together a bomb ass deck. Like I'm like, "Damn, B, look what you just did." Just even in
Hmm.
those little, little moments. But I think also too, like it helps bring maybe like a little bit of like clarity a lot of times for me because like I know when I'm feeling like out of control, it's there's like almost like a little chaos in my head sometimes. There's just like I'm thinking about too
Hmm.
much, trying to do too much. And, even this morning, like or actually like it was like last night I was like going to bed and I'm just like I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do like the to-do list,
Hmm.
the overwhelm and the anxiety like starts to get to me. And what I've actually, it's so weird, I just probably started doing this within the last like week or so because life has been so insane, is when that starts I just keep saying, repeating to myself, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Because like I will wake up so much clearer in the morning. Like honestly, that's when I do some of my best ideation is sort of like laying in bed, in sort of those early hours, and I usually keep like either my phone or like, even like a piece of
Hmm.
paper and a pen next to me. So it's like I don't even try to do the like write it down and get it out of your head at night because like that's too much. Like just go to sleep. Go to sleep. What will need to be there tomorrow will be there. I've just trusted that and I know what's most important for me in that moment is to go to sleep because if I'm not
Yeah.
rested, then like I'm just going to wake up with a jumbled mind the next day anyway. So I think, to when you were talking about that, it made me think about just being able to have that, creating that magic almost creates clarity and space for, like you
Hmm.
said, creating more magic and more successes.
Absolutely. And go to sleep is your mantra. And I have a
Period.
mantra as well. It's everything is as it should be. And even in horrible situations, I repeat to myself, everything is as it should be. I'm not saying that I deserve what's happening to me in that moment, but I know that it's happening for a reason. And I'm going to find the message in the mess so that I can then take a step forward. The cure for worry is action,
Mm,
period. Like once, like people who are worriers are usually the ones who are on the couch thinking about something but not doing anything, right? So the
yep.
cure for worry is action. And repeating that mantra is an action. You're
Yep.
getting yourself to the next day, you're setting yourself up for success. That is the perfect way to get to that clarity and to really start to cut through the illusion that we are powerless, that we are helpless, and that, you know, that we're stuck. There is no stuck. It's just a matter of, are you willing and creative enough to see what that next step forward is?
Yeah. And again, like I think it's redefining action too, because people might say you going to sleep is not action. Like, you know what I mean? It's like kind of that redefining Black excellence, you know, means having those moments where it's like, I don't need to be at 110. So I'm feeling real validated right now. I got like a 3-time gold Olympian telling me I'm, you know, living right at least a little bit here. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I know they keep walking by me with some time cards and tell me I'm running out of time, but you know, like I said, I could talk to you all day, girl.
No.
But I do want to get back to, because as you know, kind of people can see from the names here, and you briefly mentioned earlier, you know, you are divorced, and that was you know, a very toxic relationship. And I think another topic that we don't talk enough about, you know, along with mental health, is domestic violence. And you know, I know you kind of started a new organization and community, you know, Victim to Victor. And you know, what are you know, hoping to accomplish through that work?
I am just hoping to, one, create a safe space for those conversations to happen. Because, like we talked about earlier today, the silence is what's really putting the final nail in the coffin for a lot of us going through this experience. But also, the name From Victim to Victor implies that it's a journey,
Yeah.
because I naively thought that I was done once I left. And that was not the case. And the amount of support I wish I had or needed in order to keep moving forward on that like healing journey, um, I didn't even know I didn't even know enough to ask for it, right? And so now that I'm, you know, out on the other side, I want to go back and create what I didn't have for other women going through it, so that they can transition from victim to victor. And none of us really wants to be a victim. We don't want to wear that label. I don't want that
Mm-hmm.
name tag, right? Um, but it happened, and that's what it is, and that's where you are, and that's where you start. But you don't have to stay there. And so that is my goal for that entire organization, which, you know, I'm just being a new mom and moving and all this stuff going on. It's like coming together, but like it keeps me up at night in the best of ways, because we don't go through the things that we go through to sit on them and not share them. Like I told you before, we're all just walking each other home. We're all living these unique lives, but it is a shared human experience. And there's no way that I'm going to go live through that and then not use it to help someone else avoid that, or to pull someone else through that too.
Girl, that's the one we were, you know, when I talked before about what we're gonna circle back to. Like we all are just walking each other home, and you know, it's funny because I remember it made me think about like something my best friend said to me. Gosh, like some odd years ago, when I was just a little, you know, a little youngin'. And you know, I was just like, I was kind of complaining to her like one day about just like, you know, why I got to go through this, like, you know, this is going on and this is going on. And she just looked at me. She goes, girl, she goes, you're going through it so that you can teach somebody else. And I was like, damn, why, but I don't want to teach nobody else.
Right,
And it's just like, you know,
right.
but those moments when, you know, that happens and I'm having a conversation with somebody who is struggling or who comes, you know, to me for advice, and I can genuinely speak about it because I went through
Mhm.
it. I literally like at least once a year tell her, I'm like, remember you told me that? I done had that conversation
Yeah.
about 6 times with people already. Like, you know,
Yep.
it's so true that we're in this shared human experience together, and you know how we, you know, really help each other, you know, get to being our best selves, living our best lives, and you know, is really all, you know, interconnected. So that to me was, you know, again, of all, you just dropping all the little gems and knowledge, I really love. So as we start to, you know, sort of come to a close, again, you know, just kind of noting the name change. What's next for Miss Tianna Madison? Let you reintroduce yourself.
My name is T.
Hey, right?
Anyway, there's a lot going. So, my baby was discharged from the NICU last month, so we are adjusting to life at home. So, really
Yes,
enjoying being a
amen.
new mom. I also returned to school. I'm working on a social work degree, mostly to support the work that I'm doing with my own organization, B2B, so that you'll see a lot more coming from that. I'm also a certified yoga teacher, so I
Yes,
like
I know.
teaching
We're gonna
my
get you on trap yoga next year, okay?
yeah,
Definitely.
and I like teaching I like making yoga accessible to people who are largely intimidated by going into the studio because that was me once upon a time. So I online have an online studio. So all of that will start to come back together as I adjust. And this is me showing myself grace because I like to do a million things at 100 miles per hour, but I've really scaled back so that I can show up for as my best self for the people who need me as my best self right now.
Yeah.
But that's what we got going on.
Are you allowed to talk about some potential future Olympic things that we talked
Oh
about?
yes. Yeah, well, I was already on the bobsled team. I think people know that. But yeah, I am a fan of curling. So next month I will be learning how to curl, learning how to speed.
Yes.
I've been invited to Utah to give short track speed skating a try. And we'll be doing some work with USA figure skating. Now, listen, I can't figure skate, but I'm willing to suck at it and give it a try. Just to see. We all have to start somewhere. So maybe
Yes.
you'll see me, in the Winter Olympics.
I'm here for it, girl. I'm here for it. We definitely need more Black representation in the Winter Olympics. So I'm getting the like seconds countdown now, in which I'm not pleased about, Mike. Because I mean, this has been just a wonderful conversation. It's been amazing getting to know you. I will be in the Bay Area in May, so we will be brunching. Yes, I know
Yes.
Brandy's gonna come and meet us. I can't thank you enough for just being so open, so honest. We'd have your social and all your info on the website so people can connect with you and just, keep track of everything that you're doing. And I know this won't be the last that we hear about Tianna Madison and all the amazing things that she's doing. So thank you so much, Tianna, for this amazing conversation and just, being you and helping us all fix our crown a little bit more.